the ganja.
I need it in Indonesia.
Give me the ganja.
Smoking a sense a million.
I want the ganja, puff another blunt. The low bitch is what you want.
It's what you want, it's what you get, it's what you need. We're pumping that system in the party, drinking beer and smoking weed with some fine hoochies that are just mad. I'm blazing up that fucking Vega blunt, and yo, it's time to get that pennies. What see it's on like Donkey Kong. Booyah, G-A-N-J-A, blazing up the ganja.
I want the ganja. Give me the ganja.
During the day, Cicero, Illinois, a blue-collar suburb of almost 70,000 residents just west of Chicago, looks peaceful enough with its rows of neat bungalows. But as the daylight dims, it's a different story. With sirens blazing, Cicero police race to another gang-related shooting. An 18-year-old hit in a drive-by shooting while riding a bicycle down a main Cicero street had stumbled into a nearby restaurant and collapsed. Adam Rodriguez, the 23rd gang-related shooting victim of the year, was critically injured but survived.
They shot him all through here.
Cicero Town President Betty Loren Maltese was one of the first on the scene. She questioned police detective Jerry Schlada.
So this has to be the Sin City Boys and the Latin Angels. Yeah. Jerry, how many times do you think you arrested this kid?
Numerous times in the last few years, hanging around with gangs and nonsense.
Are you surprised by this?
No, not at all. Play around with guns, you're gonna get killed.
See, this will lead probably to another death, another shooting for retaliation. I mean, this has got to stop.
To try and stop the violence, Cicero passed the country's first gang eviction law. The highly controversial ordinance bans active gang members from town. If they don't leave and remain active gang members, they're subject to a $500 a day fine. Though its constitutionality has been questioned, the ordinance has the support of many Cicero residents like Mary Ann Burnett, who felt the night's violence had struck too close to home.
It could have been my daughter that was could have been badly hurt because they were just there 10 minutes prior to the shooting. And I had just went in the house to eat my dinner, and I saw and heard, I heard gunshots from my kitchen. And I stood up and I saw a silverish gray caravan-like vehicle speed away. And then I heard that Adam was shot.
You think this gang-free ordinance is important to Cicero?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It was nice once. It can be nice again if people just care and just keep running them off.
Some cities like San Jose and Los Angeles have passed anti-gang ordinances asking for injunctions against gang members' behavior. But no other municipality has tried to banish gang members from their town.
I think because the gangs have become more dangerous, more families are affected by it, and I think people all over are just fed up. And the sad thing is, it's not only in Cicero. It's across the whole United States.
Cicero has experience with gangsters. In the 1920s, Al Capone based his bootlegging operation in Cicero after getting kicked out of Chicago. But this April, town residents passed a referendum calling for Cicero to become a gang-free zone. Town trustees followed up with a controversial ordinance. Town attorney Barry Pector.
The town president came to me and stated that she had the belief that people that were involved in criminal activity, in gang members that were being involved in criminal activity, did not have the right to live within the town of Cicero, or should not have the right. At first, everyone said, that's just ridiculous. And slowly but surely, even the attorneys, the tide has seemed to change. What looked to be impossible to them in the beginning, now all of a sudden everybody seems to be stepping back a little and saying, not only is it good public debate, it could work.
It would work by having the superintendent of police first identify and then subpoena a suspected gang member. In a civil hearing, the city would then have to prove that the person was in a gang and currently involved in gang-related criminal activity. The city proved its case, the person would then have a choice: leave town, pay a $500 a day fine, or quit the gang. Gang members are already feeling the heat. These Sin City gang members say several gang members they know have already left town. So what would these three do?
I'll jot that.
You'd get out of the gang, and you would Pay $500.
If I had the money, but not every day.
And you would leave town.
Yeah, I'll still come back around.
But in Oak Park, a Chicago suburb a little north of Cicero, political science professor Evan McKenzie says their town's gang prevention and intervention programs have worked well and are much more effective than banishment.
When young people decide to enter a gang lifestyle, is this type of a program the best way to keep them from doing that? And I just think it's completely wrong-headed to take a segment of your society, your own community, the people who live in your town, who went to your schools, who walk in your streets and play in your parks, your kids, and then argue that they are the enemy and that they have to be banished from the community.
Cicero does have some successful gang intervention programs. Seniors Victor Parejo and Oscar Suarez both credit the program at their high school in Cicero with keeping them in school and out of gang activity. What do you think of the gang ordinance?
It's like they're treating us like we're prisoners because we can't even stand in front of our own house because, like you said, we're getting harassed by the cops. They stop and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing? How come you're hanging out here? Don't you have something to do?" And then they search you for no reason. And even though you ain't a gang member, they're still gonna stop and harass you. They don't care. They just want to see you out of Cicero.
I don't think it's right. I don't know. A lot of people take it like discrimination towards us, Hispanic people.
In the past 15 years, Cicero has gone from a white ethnic enclave known for its intolerance, Martin Luther King Jr. called Cicero the Selma of the North, to one that is nearly 60% Latino. Police estimate that 75% of gang members are Latino. Some Latinos worry that the real motivation behind the ordinance is to get not only the gangs out of Cicero, but Latinos as well. Maria Valdez is the senior litigator for the Mexican-American Legal Defense Fund.
First, the ordinance itself is pretty vague in terms of what is a gang member. And because of the vagueness of the language of the ordinance, it gives broad powers to the police and other people to accuse Latino residents of being a gang member and hauling them into the court that Cicero will be setting up. Secondly, we think that it may actually, lead to a targeting of Latino residents in Cicero.
But Loren Maltese flatly denies that the ordinance targets Latinos.
Here we had 88 shootings where 17 resulted in death, and 13 out of the 17 were Hispanic people. So when Hispanics say, that it's aimed targeted at the Hispanic community, if anything, it's going to protect the Hispanic community more, because we have Hispanics killing Hispanics.
In fact, many of the new Latinos in town say the ordinance does make them feel safer.
I'm worried because I have a lot of kids, and I want to walk in the street in the day or in the evening, and sometimes I listen shooting the guys.
You hear shooting?
Yeah, shooting. It's better for us because when the gun is out here, it's more better for the.
If the guns are gone.
Yeah, I like it.
Despite the neighborhood support, American Civil Liberties Union attorney Harvey Grossman says the ordinance is clearly unconstitutional.
We simply do not allow, under our constitutional form of government, for a household and banishment to be put at issue.
What right is that?
That's a substantive right of due process, one's right to have a household, to maintain a family unit. Under this ordinance, children would be evicted from their households.
And my argument to that is, after due process is afforded to the individual, that as in criminal laws, that sometimes people must be removed from the town, people must go to jail. We have the ultimate banishment in effect in this country of the death penalty. To live in a civilized society, sometimes you have to enforce the rights of the law-abiding citizen rather than the rights of the accused.
Loren Maltese also disagrees with the ACLU, arguing that the ordinance will strengthen, not harm, the family. She says it will give parents a wake-up call, a call she tries to deliver every chance she gets, as when this traffic stop turned up a suspected gang member, and his parents hurried to the scene.
Well, that should be a wake-up call for you. A lot of parents don't know the signals. That should be a wake-up call.
If other gang members come and see him with that earring upside down and those signals on his belt, they're going to think he is a gang member and they're going to start shooting.
Yes.
Loren Maltese says the ordinance will not run kids like this out of town. But the town has started impounding the cars of suspected gang members.
I think this ordinance and the lawsuit is going to make parents responsible. It's a wake-up call for them, too.
The parent winds up not being able to deal with the kid, which certainly happens sometimes. You know, then that kid is going to have to leave town.
Well, it's probably better for the family because probably a sibling would be killed in a drive-by. The 7 things went through them.
The town president is so adamant about the new ordinance, she says gates will be constructed at the town's border to prevent those who have been expelled from Cicero from ever returning home.